If market volatility picks up, should you buy the dips? And if so, which stocks? Let's bring in BD8 Capital Partners, Barbara Doran. Barb, what's on your list?
Well, there's a number, and this is all, I'm looking for names in this uncertain environment. I mean, you heard the Fed today. Things look good right now, but going forward, we're still not sure what the impact will be of tariffs in terms of, but they raised their forecast on inflation, lowered it on GDP. So what are the kind of names that you want to buy on pullbacks? Because the market is at a 22 plus PE right now. We've had a big spring back from the lows in April. And so, or in February, in April. And so you're looking for the names that are going to withstand that. And that tends to be, number one, it's the general theme of AI. And we talked about this, but we will be talking about this for a long time to come. And it's some of the obvious names like Nvidia or Broadcom, or you have things like Meta, which is really benefiting from their use of AI and in advertising that's really increasing their engagement and their advertising efficiency, or even at Amazon. Amazon is really using robotics and AI to increase theirs. So you're going to see that continuing. Or you look at names like Eli Lilly, that has a really dominant franchise in the weight reduction space with an oral medication that should be approved sometime next year. And these are things that are all long-term running trends. Or an Intuitive Surgical, which is minimally invasive surgery. They're the leader, in fact, and that continues to see much more usage in terms of applications. Last week in India, for instance, the first cardiac procedure done minimally invasive. Or an Uber. And Uber is both the ride-sharing theme, the food delivery theme, and of course now they're testing right now in Austin, Atlanta.
Okay.
With Waymo. So there's a number but on pullbacks, because they've all come up a lot. So you have to wait, but a meaningful pullback.
So on a name like Amazon, are you buying more on a top line growth on a pullback or bottom line savings, given the CEO is saying we're probably not going to hire as much as we would have otherwise because we're going to use AI?
Yeah, that's interesting, because I tell you, that's a sign of things to come in terms of the productivity. But I think it's both. I mean, Amazon, is the biggest e-commerce company out there. We don't know what's going to happen with some of the advertising with some of the Chinese third party that they've been using, but it's both. I mean, they're focused on top line and they're also focused on margins, which is really what got Meta going a couple of years ago when investors were pretty discouraged about all the spending going on. So I think it's both.
Does gold have further to go here, especially given geopolitical tensions and uncertainty for the macro outlook?
Morgan, I think it does. I think that a pullback here would be normal, because I think there's two things going on with gold. It still remains a refuge in times of uncertainty, whether it's geopolitical, economic uncertainty, or inflation. But I think there's been a real structural change that started around 22 when some 300 billion Russian reserves were impounded by the Europeans because of the invasion of the Ukraine war. And I think other central banks said, hey, this is not good. This could happen to us. And you've seen a lot. And plus, with the geopolitical uncertainty with us and the uncertainty around what we're doing, people are trying to diversify away from the U.S. dollar, away from treasuries, et cetera. So you're seeing gold buying in the emerging markets, central banks, has increased fivefold each year since then. And that's going to continue. We and Germany have reserves that are about 74, 75% gold. India's 11%, China's 5%. So there's going to be continued demand that is really aside from any kind of safety hedge. So I think that will continue. But a bit of a pullback here after it's run. It's had a very big year. Would not be unexpected.
Okay. Quickly, SLR changes. We saw financials finish in the green today. Fed is going to be meeting to talk about bank deregulation next week. Is it a buy here, banks?
Well, it's interesting on the banks because, again, that's part of what's going on with the economy. The economy right now looks strong, and on any pullback and with deregulation, because that's going to be the next emphasis of this administration. And you're seeing a big push to increase the supplemental reserves that they can then buy more treasuries. So depending, on the name, you could be sniffing around in here for sure.